Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into a world that's, well, kind of blurring the lines between sci-fi and reality. Yeah, we're talking about service robots.
And we're not just talking about those big, factory robots bolted to the floor. This is different. Think robots in hospitals, robots helping out at home, even robots like navigating our streets alongside us.
It's a pretty wild concept when you think about it. For this deep dive, we've got a ton of really cool articles. Some are looking at what's happening right now, and others are making some pretty bold predictions about the future.
Yeah, we really tried to find a mix of sources, and our goal really is to pull out those super key insights, the stuff that's going to matter most to you. So consider this your crash course in service robotics.
So before we get too deep into this, let's take a step back. When we say service robots, what are we actually talking about?
At its core, it's about robots that are designed to help us out, but specifically outside of industrial settings. So not in factories, but in everyday life. Think increasing convenience, boosting efficiency, and even making things safer by handling tasks that are, those repetitive, time-consuming, or even kind of dangerous ones.
Right, so they're basically taking on those jobs that no one really wants to do. And how do they actually, do all this? What makes them tick?
Well, it's all about a pretty amazing mix of technology. These robots are packed with sensors, so think of that as their way of sensing the world around them. They're often equipped with some pretty high-tech cameras, too. And the brains of the operation, increasingly powerful AI, artificial intelligence.
So they can actually perceive their surroundings, interact with things, and even make independent decisions. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And the thing is, this isn't just some far-off fantasy. The growth in this field is, well, explosive. We're looking at a market that's predicted to jump from about $47 billion in 2024 to almost $99 billion by 2029.
Wow. That's like doubling in just a few years.
It is. It's a huge annual growth rate, nearly 16%. So what this really shows is that there's a ton of investment and confidence in this tech, and it's going to impact all of us.
Yeah, no matter how tech savvy you are, it's pretty clear that service robots are going to, become part of our lives in a big way.
Yeah.
So let's dig into some specifics. Where are we already seeing some really interesting applications?
Well, healthcare is a great place to start. We're seeing some truly transformative stuff happening there.
Healthcare seems like a natural fit. I mean, there's so much potential for robots to help out.
Totally. Think about surgical robots, for example. They're giving surgeons this incredible precision, which means less invasive procedures, faster recovery times for patients, and even the possibility of remote surgery.
Remote surgery. So a surgeon could be on one side of the world, operating on a patient on the other side.
Exactly. And that has huge implications, especially for people in remote areas or places where they might not have access to specialized surgeons.
It could really level the playing field when it comes to healthcare. What else are we seeing in healthcare?
Well, there's rehabilitation robots. They can provide personalized therapy, tailored to each patient's needs, and that can lead to more effective recoveries.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like having a therapist who can constantly adapt to your progress, which would be really tough for a human to do.
Right. And then there's the whole area of pharmacy automation. Robots can handle dispensing meds and managing inventory, which really helps reduce errors, a huge deal in healthcare.
Yeah, accuracy is absolutely critical when it comes to medication.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about disinfection robots. They can autonomously clean and disinfect, which is especially important these days. Who knows, we might even see them in all public spaces eventually.
That's an interesting thought, like robots just roaming around, keeping everything clean.
Right. And then there's telepresence robots. These allow doctors to interact with patients remotely, another way to bridge those geographical gaps in healthcare.
Makes sense. It's all about making healthcare more accessible, no matter where you are.
Exactly. Now, here's another fascinating area: companion robots. These robots can offer emotional support and assistance, particularly for the elderly or people with disabilities. But it raises an interesting question. Where's the line between robots providing care and actual human connection?
That's a deep one. It's making me think about, the balance between tech and genuine human interaction.
Definitely something to ponder. And we're also seeing robots taking on more routine tasks in healthcare. Things like drawing blood, delivering meds, even acting as nursing assistants, helping out human nurses with things like patient monitoring.
So robots are really starting to integrate into all aspects of healthcare.
They are. Now let's shift gears and talk about another industry that's being transformed: logistics and warehousing.
Okay, I can already picture those massive warehouses with robots zipping around.
Exactly. Think about autonomous mobile robots, or AMRs. They're navigating these huge spaces, moving goods, and optimizing inventory flow. It's all about speed and precision on a scale we've never seen before.
And how do they know where they're going in those giant warehouses?
A lot of them use something called SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping. Basically, they build a map of the environment and know exactly where they are in real time. No need for pre-programmed paths.
That's pretty impressive.
And when you combine those AMRs with picking and packing robots, you can automate the whole process of fulfilling orders. That means faster and more accurate deliveries for customers.
So from the warehouse to my doorstep, it's all robots.
Well, there's still that last mile to consider, getting the package from the hub to your house. That's where smaller delivery robots and drones come in.
Delivery drones. I can see that becoming a thing. But it makes you wonder, how are cities going to adapt to all these autonomous delivery vehicles?
That's a great question. Urban planners and policymakers are going to have to figure out how to integrate them safely and effectively. It's a whole new landscape.
All right, let's move on to something completely different. Agriculture. I wouldn't necessarily think of robots and farms together.
You might be surprised. Robotics is already having a big impact in agriculture. Think about some of the challenges farmers face. Now imagine robots that can monitor crop health, identify diseases early on, even harvest crops autonomously.
So robots that can tell when a fruit or veggie is perfectly ripe and then pick it, that could be huge for food production and reducing waste.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just harvesting. Precision agriculture robots can optimize the use of things like water, fertilizers, and pesticides. That means higher yields and less environmental impact.
So it's a win-win for farmers and the environment.
Precisely. We're even seeing weeding robots that can take care of weeds without herbicides.
Okay, robots in agriculture are officially blowing my mind.
It's pretty remarkable stuff. Now, how about a trip to the mall? The hospitality and retail industries are also seeing a lot of robotic innovation.
Yeah, I've seen those customer service robots popping up in some stores.
Right. They can provide info, answer questions, and even guide you around. Think about a hotel lobby with a robot concierge available 24/7.
It's all about enhancing the customer experience.
Definitely. But there's also a focus on efficiency. Cleaning robots can keep public spaces spotless, and that frees up human staff to focus on, those more personalized interactions with customers.
Makes sense. And I've heard about robots in restaurants too.
Oh, yeah. Food prep and service robots can cook, serve food, even make custom drinks. And in retail, robots can track inventory, scan shelves, and restock, so the things you want are always available.
It seems like every industry is finding ways to use robots.
They really are. Now, let's talk about construction. It's a tough job, often dangerous. Robots can really make a difference there.
I can imagine. What are we seeing in construction?
Demolition robots can safely take down buildings, and bricklaying robots can handle those repetitive tasks. We're even seeing 3D printing robots that can build entire structures on site.
Wow, that's like building a house from scratch with a giant robot printer.
Pretty much. And then there are inspection robots like drones that can check the condition of infrastructure, things like bridges and buildings, for safety and maintenance.
Makes sense. Safety is paramount in construction.
Absolutely. Now, let's touch on security and surveillance. Robots are proving to be really valuable in this area too.
Yeah, I've seen those security robots patrolling around.
Right. They can monitor large areas autonomously, and surveillance drones provide a great aerial view for security purposes.
So robots are becoming our watchful guardians.
In a way, yes. Finally, let's look at education. This one might surprise you.
Robots in schools. I'm intrigued.
Well, think about it. Tutoring robots can provide one-on-one support to students, adapting to their needs. It's like having a personal tutor available anytime.
That's amazing. Personalized learning at its best.
Right. And then there are classroom assistant robots that can help teachers with things like grading and organizing materials.
So robots are taking on some of the more tedious tasks, freeing up teachers to focus on teaching.
Exactly. And robots designed for STEM education are getting kids excited about robotics and programming, which are, really important skills for the future.
It's all about preparing them for the world they're going to live in. So we've covered how service robots are transforming industries, but what about our personal lives? How are they impacting us on a daily basis?
Well, home automation is a big one. Robot vacuums and mops are already pretty common.
Yeah, those are definitely lifesavers. And I've seen those lawn mowing robots too.
Right. But what's really evolving are personal assistant robots. They can manage schedules, give reminders, even control smart home devices. But as they get smarter, it makes you think, how much information are we comfortable sharing with these robots?
That's a good point. Privacy is definitely something to consider.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about elder care. It's a growing need, and robots can really help.
Yeah. How so?
Companion robots can provide social interaction and assistance with things like meds and fall detection. They can even do remote monitoring, giving peace of mind to family members.
So both companionship and safety, that's great. What about entertainment?
Robots can provide that too. Think companion robots for kids or the elderly, and interactive robots for games and activities.
So robots aren't just about work. They can be fun too.
Exactly. And let's not forget accessibility. Robotic arms, exoskeletons, and advanced mobility devices are already making a huge difference for people with disabilities.
That's awesome. It's about using tech to improve lives.
Absolutely. And for home security, we're seeing things like robotic security systems and hazard detection drones.
It's like having a high-tech security team right at home. So it's clear, service robots are going to be everywhere. But what's making all this possible? What are the big tech advancements behind all this?
Well, a lot of it comes down to AI and machine learning. These technologies are enabling robots to learn from huge amounts of data, adapt to new situations, and make those autonomous decisions.
So AI is basically the brain power behind these robots.
Exactly. But they also need to be able to perceive the world around them. That's where improved sensor technology comes in. It gives robots a much better understanding of their environment. Think cameras, LiDAR, all those fancy sensors.
So they're getting better at seeing and understanding their surroundings.
Right, and to process all that sensory info, they need serious processing power. That's another key advancement that's enabling all these capabilities.
It's like their brains are getting smarter and faster. What about the cost of all this? I imagine it's not cheap to build a robot.
It's true, but the good news is that the costs of components are coming down. That's making robots more affordable and accessible to more people.
That's a good trend. What else is driving the growth of service robotics?
Well, we've got an aging population and labor shortages in some areas. That's creating a big demand for robotic help to fill those gaps.
Right, robots can step in and do those jobs that are becoming harder to fill. And I think we're also seeing a shift in how people view robots.
Absolutely. People are becoming more comfortable with automation as they see its benefits. That increased acceptance is paving the way for more widespread adoption.
And one last thing. It's not just about robots operating in isolation. Connectivity is a huge factor, right?
Totally. Connectivity and cloud robotics allow robots to access tons of information and processing power from the cloud. They can even coordinate with other robots and learn from each other.
It's like they're all part of a giant interconnected network. So we've talked about the incredible potential of service robotics. But what about the challenges? What are some things we need to address as this tech keeps advancing?
Well, first and foremost, safety and reliability. Robots are operating in complex environments, often alongside people. They need to be predictable and safe.
Yeah, we have to be able to trust them. What about the user experience?
That's key too. Human-robot interaction needs to be intuitive and easy to understand. If it's too complicated, people won't use them.
Makes sense. It needs to be user-friendly.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of cost.
Right. While costs are coming down, affordability is still a barrier for some. We need more innovation and economies of scale to make robots accessible to everyone.
What about standards and regulations? Do we need those for robots?
Yeah, developing industry standards and some level of regulation is important to ensure safety, make sure different robot systems can work together, and encourage fair competition.
And what about all the data these robots might be collecting?
That's a big one. Data security and privacy are critical, especially for robots dealing with personal or healthcare information. We need strong security measures and clear guidelines.
And how do we address people's fears about robots?
We need to overcome those fears and misconceptions. Educating the public about the benefits of robots and showing how they can improve our lives can help build trust.
Because for some, the idea of robots everywhere might seem a little scary.
For sure. And we also need to acknowledge that there are still technical challenges. Improving things like battery life, dexterity, and their ability to adapt to different environments are all ongoing areas of research.
So lots of progress, but still work to be done. Looking ahead, what are some of the big trends that are going to shape the future of service robotics?
One big trend is the integration of robotics with AI and digital twins. Digital twins are like virtual replicas of robots. They let us test and optimize robots in a virtual environment before they're even built.
So it's like a virtual test run.
Exactly. Another trend is the continued evolution of collaborative robots, or cobots. They're designed to work alongside humans, becoming more intelligent and adaptable for seamless collaboration.
So robots as partners, not replacements.
Precisely. We'll also see more personalized AI assistants that can understand and respond to us naturally.
It's like having a super smart, helpful friend.
And there's a growing focus on sustainability, creating robots that are energy efficient and eco-friendly.
Which is great. We need tech that's good for the planet.
Absolutely. And lastly, there's the rise of robotics as a service, or RAS. This lets people access robots through subscriptions, making them more affordable and accessible.
So kind of like renting a robot instead of buying one outright.
Exactly. Well, this has been quite a deep dive into the world of service robots.
It really has. It's clear that service robots are going to have a massive impact on our lives, both in the workplace and at home.
And we're just at the beginning of this revolution.
We've seen the amazing potential of this technology, but also the challenges that need to be addressed. Everything from safety and ethics to making robots more accessible.
It's a dynamic and rapidly evolving field.
So as we wrap up, here's a final thought for you, our listeners.
Yeah.
Think about how the rise of service robots might change not just the tasks we do, but our understanding of work, care, and companionship. Reflect on what we've discussed today. Maybe do some more research on the things that sparked your curiosity. The future of service robots is unfolding right before our eyes, and it's a conversation we'll definitely continue here on The Deep Dive.